What was the biggest lie you believed?
On April Fool's, while I was getting ready for school on a cold winter day, my mom told me school is canceled. It's a snow day. I ran around for a good 2 minutes celebrating before she told me April Fool's. I've never felt so betrayed in my life.
My mom told me when I was 5 and my favorite dog died that it doesn't matter that dogs die because in 7 years they respawn. So I was like, oh fine, see you then, bud. I will be older and we will play again.
That my dad moved out and rented a room in the house of a female friend for tax reasons.
That my parents were married. Truth is, my father was, just not to my mother.
I'm not having an affair. My wife, who was having an affair.
Our family were poor and lived in a house where the ceiling plaster had bowed so much that it bowed down, bulging out. My dad told me that there was a World War I bomb buried in the ceiling. Believed it for years, absolutely terrified the entire time.
When I was very young, we had a pet hamster. He got out of his cage, so my dad put the cage in the basement thinking he might get hungry and get back in. One morning I woke up and there was the hamster in his cage in the usual place. I asked my mum how they found him and she told me she opened the door to the cellar and there he was dragging his cage back upstairs. It wasn't until I was a teenager and remembered the exchange that it occurred to me she obviously made that up.
You'll figure it out when you are older. No, life has only gotten more confusing.
Outside of dumb lies, your parents tell you as kids. My friend who worked at a gas station with a big food station that has some ground beef items told me they use kangaroo meat for their ground beef because it was cheaper than cow.
I am gullible with my friends.
That adults knew what they were doing.
That acne would only be a problem when I was a teenager.
When I was like 16, I found out that one of my sisters wasn't actually my sister. She was actually just best friends with my older sister growing up, and she lived with my family from when she was like 12 or 13 through 18. She and my older sister are 15 years older than me. Unfortunately, her parents wouldn't sign her over for adoption and didn't contribute anything for my mum raising her for 6 years. Weirdest part is that my family is predominantly fair-skinned, blonde with blue eyes, but the girl I thought was my sister was traditional Mexican with darker skin, dark hair, and brown eyes. My mum was always very tan and had darker hair throughout my childhood, so I thought that my other 2 sisters and myself were the odd ones out.
The Tinder account was just a shared account for joking around with my friends. I never even logged in on my own. It was, in fact, his account which he had been using during the last 3 months of our relationship. And yes, I knew how unbelievable that sounds, but I refused to believe that the man I trusted so much would ever do this to me. That a full career and retirement from the US Navy would guarantee me free medical. I'll fill up my car with gas before work tomorrow morning.
When I grow up, I'll always be able to do what I want, when I want. Oh, my sweet summer child.
The microwave will explode if I put my face too close to it while it's heating food.
That justice will always win.
Bullies get bored if you ignore them.
If you go to college, you'll get a good job and have a nice house. Lying 90s third grade teacher.
My church isn't a cult. It was a cult.
If you simply put your head down, do what you're told, and work hard, things will work out.
That it's not what the outside, it's what's on the inside that counts. No matter how you cut it, pretty people get better chances in life. It doesn't matter what you do if you look like Quasimodo. You can put in the most effort on a given task, they would rather swing the credit to anyone else.
How hard you work would be proportional to how well rewarded you would be.
My dad got sick of having to listen to the kids' shows I watched as a child, so he told me that the Power Rangers and Barney the dinosaur died in the car crash with Princess Diana, so I couldn't watch them anymore. I didn't actually question it until I was quite old, embarrassingly.
That my husband loved me and that I was his happily ever after.
It's illegal to turn on the dome light while the vehicle is moving, turns out. It's just annoying as hell.
That you need a license for children's parties.
That was the reason why I never had a party when I was little growing up.
You need to get a license from the post office, but there's only a certain amount of licenses available for that area.
Parents love their children equally and unconditionally.
I had dumped some gasoline in an Arizona tea bottle to get a fire started. My sister seen me pour it on fire and she freaked thinking Arizona iced tea was flammable. I went along with it, saying, yeah, you didn't know that? That's why it's called Arizona, because how hot it gets there. She was 20 years old. Around 5 years later, we are camping, and she says who's got some Arizona I can use to start this campfire. I looked at there and didn't understand. She explained I told her it's flammable. I had no recollection. She says she has been telling everyone for the last 5 years how bad it is for you and how flammable it is.
I was a Mormon for way too long.
Half-Life 3 being released someday. Two cries in Neverwing.
I lived my entire life genuinely believing my childhood home was built by little people because the attic crawl space is unbearably low. Turns out, yeah, they were a little below average height, but not literal dwarves. Just about everyone I know has laughed at me. I really am a clown. Honk.
That someday everyone meets their person and live and love together the rest of their lives. Never happens for some of us.
That I won't have a calculator wherever I go. When I was in school, I used to believe that I needed to memorize all the math formulas and multiplication tables because I wouldn't have access to a calculator wherever I go. However, with the advancement of technology, I now carry a calculator with me all the time in the form of a smartphone or a smartwatch.
So that belief turned out to be a big lie.
That carrots improved night vision. Damn Brits and trying to hide radar use.
I had a fraternity brother from Nye come to university in Oklahoma. This was before the internet. We told him to be careful of rattlesnakes. We explained what they were. He did not believe, so we took him to the library, pulled the encyclopedia, and showed him. He then asked, "What else can kill you in this state?" Without missing a beat, one of our brothers said, "They probably won't kill you, but you have to watch out for drop cats." He then went on to tell him how this kind of cat, 40-pounders on average, evolved to use the cat trait of landing on their feet to kill their prey. They would climb trees, hanging upside down, then drop, feet down onto their prey. Only defense, an open umbrella. This guy walked to and from every class on sunny days. Not a cloud in the sky, opening his umbrella as he walked under every tree on the campus. Lasted about 3 weeks.
I swear on my mother's life, I'm not messing around with your wife. We're just friends.
That America was family-oriented, cared about its citizens, and was everything I saw in movies growing up in the UK. Then I moved here. No health care. No guaranteed time off. Bankruptcy for cancer. Hatred for minority groups. I've never experienced such a culture shock. I asked for 5 weeks paid vacation when I arrived, which I got in England. I was literally laughed out of the interview. 22 years later, things have not improved.
About a year into our relationship, my ex told me that she wasn't attracted to me when we started dating, but she went along with me courting her because she didn't want people to keep teasing her for being a virgin. She supposedly fell in love after a short while, but it's hard to know how much of anything she said is true after hearing that.
That all men are created equal. Unfortunately, some men are more equal than others.
That 3 inches was enough.
That people joined the army out of patriotism and love of adventure. Found that out the hardest way possible.
You can trust people, work colleagues.
That if I do enough good, good things will happen to me. I still pity the small child who ran herself ragged, trying to help everyone and destroyed her mental health because she thought that she was a bad person if she didn't dedicate every waking moment to other people. I didn't deserve that.